So today we're going to be doing the advanced rose window wheel in watercolor. We've got to make our design because one of the things that's fancy about this one, it makes it advanced, is that it's got what's called a flipped situation. So not only is it going to have 6 spaces that you got to fill in, 2 tints, 2 shades, and a neutral as well as the pure hue, you also have to flip your design. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that part. And I'm going to start with the basic unit that I created for the intermediate level work. So I'm just going to, this is my computer screen at my workspace, but I'm just going to flip it up and slide over just a tiny bit so we can see my design that is hanging on my sliding glass window. So this particular design is hanging there, and it only has 5 spaces, but it needs to have 6. So I think for this design, all I'm gonna do to make it have 6 is I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna add another little spot right there. I think that makes it look kind of fun. The other thing that has to happen is that I'm going to need to have one shape going this way and then the other shape has to flip so that it's the opposite of that. Let me kind of show you how that works. So I need to have space for 2 of them. So I need to, this is the back of an old bill or something. So I'm gonna try to put it on a side that won't have any conflicts. Let's see if it's this way. I can get most of it in there. Okay, so I'm gonna lightly with my pencil trace the design, and you can see my design previously was just done in pencil. If you are going to be using the watercolor paper from school, after we get this unit completed, you are going to need to trace it in Sharpie and then use that to trace through the watercolor paper because it's just that much thicker. So I've done the first one, and then what I need to do is I need to flip it. So I take the original design and I flip it over, and then I'm going to take this design and line it up so that I'm going to end up with a really cool looking, like evil-y eye kind of creature-y thing. One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the ray that joins the two, I'm overlapping, because if you don't do that, then the thickness of the pencil is going to end up creating a gap at the end, actually a too small of a place. And I'm just going to figure out where this little section goes. Kind of looks like a Luna moth right now, and I can even it out back when I get it to my drawing space. So notice how it's sort of a mirror image symmetry. So back on my drawing space, and I'm gonna, excuse me as I flip my camera down so you guys can see what I'm doing. Sorry about that. Zoom out a little, rotate up a little. So this is my rough design, and I'm gonna try and make it real easy for my advanced times. You can sort of see the access. So to make sure that when I go to trace this for my final work, it's nice and neat and firm, I'm gonna go back in and sort of make these work well. And this is the old school original way of flipping, in this case horizontally around an axis. Get that edge nice and neat. It's okay if it's a little bit smaller, but you definitely don't want to go over the edge. And then here, these two didn't quite meet up, and that was only because of my faults as human, not because of the pencil's fault. But I know where they start, I know where they end, so I can make it fixed. And, oops, I did forget this curve. So I can actually use, if you do that, you can use your ruler and you can measure. I'm going to use this centimeters for this, and that's 3.5 centimeters is where that intersects with that line. So I know that my arc needs to come to the same place, and I can also make sure that my little C is more like I naturally draw it. My S curve is not shaky, it's nice and firm. And this S-curve is nice and firm. And I can also look back at my original design and figure out the placement of all my shapes so that I understand what eventually shade intent, because I'm going to use that plan for that. So this is my 1 space, these are my 2 spaces, this is my 4 space here, 5 space, and then 3s, and then this will be my number 6 space because that's the one I had to add to make it advanced. But isn't that fun how we have a nice symmetrical design that we can use for our rose window color wheel? And I'll show you how to trace that up onto the window the next time. So that's what you do now. You create 1 unit. This will be 1/6 of your wheel. You're going to have to repeat that 6 times, which will give you 12 small pieces of pie, but because we flipped it, it's going to give us this wonderful symmetrical kind of design that we're going to have. All right, go do that now.